Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Breton. I am the president and CEO of Electric Mobility Canada. Today, we're going to talk about electrification of boats and ships. Why? Well, because more and more companies, industries, and government are getting involved in electrifying and decarbonizing the marine industry for a very good reason. First of all, because obviously we're talking about GHG emissions when we're talking about boating and ships, but we are also, and it's even more important in the time and when we're talking about ships, talking about air pollution. Why? Because most of the time, when you see a boat, a ship pass by, especially bigger ships, what they use basically is what we call petcoke, which is more or less the residual of the refining industry, meaning that this is the worst petroleum product on the market. So there's a lot of pollution, a lot of particulate matter, which means that the impact on the environment is the worst. So that's one of the reasons why we want to electrify, whether it's through battery electric or hydrogen, boats and ships. There is another reason that many people might not be aware of. It is that because that when you have a diesel engine, you have a lot of vibration underwater. And what that does is that it creates a lot of noise under the water, and it has a tendency, a very bad tendency, to affect marine life disproportionately. To give you an example, there's a colleague that I know, her name is Lynn Morissette, which is specialized in marine biology, that told me a couple of years ago that when you have diesel ships, that go through a river, the vibration is so intense that whales, for instance, because the vibration is too intense on the sides of the boat, they will try to go in front or behind the boat, not to hear the noise coming from the vibration of the diesel engine. So that's why you end up having many accidents, many whales being hit by boats because of that vibration, which basically is like a big scream underwater for these whales and fish. So that's another reason why we want to electrify ships and boats. I was in Norway in June of 2022, where I learned that almost 50% of the ferries in Norway, and there are hundreds of them, are already electric. I happened to go on one of those ferries. It could accommodate about 300 people. It had a 2-kilowatt charger, and it was doing a 3-kilometer run back and forth for 6 kilometers, fully electric, and it was running every day nonstop. So what that means is that this is something that's feasible. The biggest ferry, when I was in Norway in 2022, was able to accommodate 600 people and 200 cars for a 10.5-kilometer ride. I mean, going from one shore to the other. And this electric ferry has been working for years now, which means that it has demonstrated, especially considering the fact that it's in Norway, that you can have electric ferries now. And there are new ones coming to the market, which are even more powerful, which have even more capacity, and which demonstrate that Canada can do it. Actually, when I was in government for the government of Quebec 10 years ago, we had a government plan to electrify ferries in Quebec. That plan has not come through, but actually the new government, a couple of weeks ago, announced that they would electrify 2 ferry lines, one in Sorel-Tracy, another one close to Quebec City, if I'm not mistaken. The one in Sorel-Tracy happens to be about 300 yards from where I live, so it means that we're going to go from diesel ferries to electric ferries, which will make a big difference. And I think this is an opportunity for Canada to develop an industry, to develop an expertise, which is actually very well developed in Europe right now, but very little. There has been very little development in Canada and the US on that side of things. Let me talk to you about one Canadian company that's working on electric boats. There's a company from Ottawa called Voltari. which has developed a high-performance electric boat, which happened to cross from Florida to Nassau, Bahamas, without having to charge, obviously, because they were in the middle of the ocean. And they did that, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, which means that as time goes by, as battery technology develops, as boats become more and more efficient, we're going to see a growing number of electric boats and ships on the market, which means that, as obviously, I don't know if you're aware of that, but boats are very expensive most of the time. But we will see a growing selection of different boats and ships that are going to be either electrified through battery electric or hydrogen powered, or both hydrogen and battery powered. So this is something that's really it's a growing market. Actually, when I was in Norway, as I mentioned, last year, I went to EVS 35, which is a conference about electric mobility. But it is such a big thing right now in Northern Europe that after that conference, I was invited to go to another conference that was dedicated solely on electric boats and ships. So that's where they are. They are far ahead of us where we are in North America. All that to say that there is a growing market for electric boats and ships. And even if you look at the Taiga watercraft, small personal watercraft, I happened to test one about 4 months ago. It was in October, if I'm not mistaken. And I went on the Saint Maurice River in October, up to 93 kilometers an hour on a small electric watercraft. Super powerful, super efficient. And it's a Canadian design, which means that there is something happening in Canada, but we have to go a lot faster than we have been going before. And if we want this industry to grow, we have the skills, we have the largest coastline in the world. Canada has the largest coastline in the world. Second one, Norway. So if we want to take advantage of this opportunity that we have, because many Canadians have boats, so if we want to take advantage of that, we have to build an industry. There are some growing interests, growing companies, newcomers, but I think we can do a lot better, a lot faster. So this was Daniel Breton from Electric Mobility Canada to talk about electric boats and ships.